let us have the sentence pattern: subjects, verbs, and clauses. In its simplest form, an English sentence has two parts: a subject and a verb that express a complete thought when they are together. The subject shows who or what is doing the action. It is always some form of a noun or a pronoun, while the verb shows the action or the state of being. It can be an action verb like run or a state verb like sim. And let's have these basic examples. Examples of simple two-word sentences include Marvin slept, dogs bark, isotopes react. Now, those are just some basic sentence patterns. Now, let us have the four basic patterns of English or in English. Every sentence pattern that we are going to discuss describes a different way to combine clauses. When you are drafting your own paper or your own papers, or when you are revising them for sentence variety, try to determine how many of these patterns you use. If you favor one particular pattern, your writing may be kind of boring if every sentence has exactly the same pattern. If you find this true, or if you find that what I am saying is true, try to revise a few sentences using a different pattern. But you have to remember that, or note that, nouns can fill so many positions in a sentence. It's easier to analyze sentence patterns if you find the verbs and find the connectors, okay? The most common connectors are listed, or we're going to discuss that with the sentence patterns that we are going to use. So, we have here the first pattern as the simple sentence. When we say simple sentence, we have one independent clause only. For example, Mr. Potato Head eats monkey, or I refuse. These sentences, in the context is that it only has one clause. And we can mark them with a certain color so they could stand out. The next pattern is we have the compound sentence. Two or more independent clauses. They can be arranged in these ways. For example, if we're going to have the simple sentence and a simple sentence, that is a compound sentence. Or we could have the simple sentence alone. And in compound sentence, we're going to use with connectors like comma, or we could have the fun boys if you are still familiar with those. And those are again the for, in, but, for, and, nor, but, or yet. And connectors with the semicolon and comma. However, moreover, nevertheless, nonetheless, and therefore. And now, let us have the examples of a compound sentence. Mr. Potato Head eats them for breakfast every day, but I don't see the attraction. And eating them makes him happy. However, he can't persuade me. Next, let us have the third sentence pattern, which is the complex sentence. One independent clause plus one or more dependent clauses, they can be arranged in this way. We can have the complex sentence. We can have the simple sentence, and then we can have the compound sentence. So, complex and compound, we could combine those both. And connectors are always at the beginning of the dependent clauses. They show how the dependent clause is related to the independent clause. We're going to have this type of relationship. For example, we have the cause and effect for complex sentence. For example, we have the because, since, so, and that connectors. We could also have the comparison and contrast. Although, even though, whereas, and while. We can also have the place or manner, where, wherever, how, however. Possibility or conditions, if, whether, unless. And we also have the relation that, which, who, and whom. And then time, after, as, before, since, when, whether, whenever, while, and until. And let us now have the examples of the complex sentence. Okay. So he recommends them highly because they taste like chicken when they are hot. Although chicken always appeals to me, I still feel skeptical about monkey. And for the last sentence pattern, we have the compound complex sentence. Two or more independent clauses plus one or more dependent clause. They can be arranged in this way: a simple sentence, a compound sentence, and then and then we could use connectors under the pattern 2 and 3. And for example, Mr. Potato said that he would share the secret recipe. However, if he does, Mr. Potato Head will feed him to the piranhas. So, we are both safer and happier if I don't eat monkeys or steal recipes. Again, here are the 4 sentence pattern. We have the first one, the simple sentence. The second, wherein it has one independent clause only. The second pattern, compound sentence, it has 2 or more independent clauses. For the complex sentence, it has one independent clause plus one or more dependent clauses. And for the fourth one, we have the compound complex sentence wherein it has 2 or more independent clauses plus one or more dependent clauses. Okay, so those are the different sentence patterns.